Hello, and welcome once again to Yoga for Kids and Their Adults. My name's Tony. I'm here at Me Time LLC, a massage and yoga studio here in Troy, Alabama. This program is sponsored in part by the Charles Henderson Child Health Center. They are a pediatric physician and dental office taking care of children from birth to age 19. They fund this program through a grant that they received from the Children's Trust Fund, whose purpose is to prevent child abuse and neglect. Thank you so much for joining me again. Today, we are getting closer and closer and closer to spring. So I thought I might share one of my favorite images that lets me know that spring is coming. This here is a tree on my farm. And I know when those branches fill with those pretty pink blossoms that spring is near. Whoa! So I thought today's routine is not only looking forward to spring, but also celebrating the signs that spring is coming. So you're not going to need a whole lot today. Might need just to push the furniture back a little bit, give yourself enough room to move. If you have a yoga mat, great, you can use it. If not, don't feel bad. You can use a blanket or a towel or a rug or even just the bare floor. And we are going to be celebrating the signs that spring is coming. If you are working with a partner or a buddy or a little helper or a big helper, just make sure that you have enough space that you can move your arms and legs without, running into each other. And then we're going to begin, as usual, by finding your breath. So sit upright with your shoulders up over your hips. Your head is upright. Your hands can rest in your lap. You can have them palm down, palm up, somewhere in the middle. Just whatever is comfortable for you. And just take a moment to find your breath. Is your breath fast or slow this morning? Is it long, deep breaths or short, choppy, shallow breaths? Just find your breath. What is your breath telling you about what the state of your body today? Just inhale and exhale. Observe your breath. Now, if you're having trouble clearing out any kind of distractions, you can always bring your right hand up over your chest, your left hand over your belly, and just observe the movements of your hands as you breathe. Just watch, feel, observe your hands as you breathe in and out with the pauses between. Can you feel that? Excellent. Just a couple more breaths. Just make sure that you know your rhythm today. And as always, if there are things that I do here in the video that your body's just not comfortable doing, you are perfectly okay to modify it or just sit that particular position out in the previous position. Okay? Excellent. So last week, we grew from a seed to a tree and had eagles nesting in us. Today, we are going to be grass sprouting. And that's going to be very interesting. So to start, if you're able to, just lay down on your back, okay? Lay on your back. This is a nice relaxation style pose. It's called Savasana. It's also known as corpse pose or final relaxation pose. And this is kind of like the winter fields. The grass isn't really growing a whole lot. There might be some snow. And then little sprouts start to come up. So bend your elbows, bringing your fingers wide on your hands and wiggle them like they're blowing in the breeze. Take a deep breath in and sigh it out. And that's your grass wiggling in the breeze. So those are the first sprouts of spring. That's a sign that spring is coming. Now some of those sprouting grasses might have little flowers on them. So they would grow up even more with your wiggly grasses. Go ahead and extend your arms and wiggle your fingers. And then bring your hands together in a flower. You're starting to see the first tulips, the first bulb flowers, and that's going to show us a sign that spring is close. What color are the flowers that are blooming in your yard? Now, once those short little flowers have bloomed, we're going to have bigger flowers and bigger stems. So, go ahead and bring your legs up like they're reaching for the sky, and wiggle those leaves too. So we have a flower here, we have wiggly stems there, and bring your heels together and splay your feet out for bigger flowers. Things like amaryllis or even the garlic flowers. Wonderful. Now, sometimes there's a storm that happens and lots of wind will blow them down. Go ahead and stretch out, your hands reaching one direction, your feet reaching the other directions, and just stretch out like those flowers laying down in the wind, and then bounce back up with your little grasses wiggling in the wind. Now, sometimes the wind blows in two directions at once, and you open and close your grasses. Can you do that? Open and close your grasses. Let's do that one more time. Open and close your grasses. And then stretch out all over again, your fingers in one direction, your toes in the other. And when you're ready, come back to your relaxation pose, your Savasana. Let everything rest. Now, not only do the grasses and the flowers start to bloom and grow, but on my farm, we've got goats and ponies. And in about another month, we're going to start seeing little baby goats and ponies. So, to celebrate those babies, let's get into the happy baby pose. To do that, bend your knees, kind of adjust your hips so you're comfortable. Bring your feet up, bend at the knees. Bring your hands to your arches and hold your feet. And this is the happy baby pose. And this looks an awful lot like when a baby's really happy and they have their diaper on and they rock from side to side. Go ahead and rock from side to side. Can you make a happy gurgling baby sound? Ooh. That's the happy baby pose. Wonderful. And what do we do with our babies? We hold them close by and we hug them to our chest. Can you hug your knees to your chest? We love our happy babies. And then go ahead and stretch. Fingers out one way, toes to the other. And then relax back into your Savasana or your relaxation pose. So we've had grass and flowers growing. We've had babies being born. We also have little critters running around outside, don't we? Like deer. My goodness, the deer. Let's go ahead and roll over onto our hands and knees. This is normally called tabletop, but you can call it your deer pose. Because the deer, they will stoop down to eat the grass. Go ahead and bend your elbows back. And then come back up like a deer checking for traffic. And then you stoop down, eating the grass like a little deer. And then come back up and check for traffic. One more time. Swoop down, eat your grass like a little deer, and come back up. Isn't that lovely? Now, not only are there big animals, but we're going to start to see little critters too. Like we're going to see grasshoppers. Go ahead and lay down onto your belly. Bring your arms back, your legs up, raise your chest. And this is called the locust pose. It's kind of like a grasshopper. It's a really big grasshopper with a voracious appetite. Can you hold this locust pose? How long can you hold it? 1 breath? 2 breaths? 3 breaths? Excellent. Go ahead and rest. Bring your head to your hands, because in spring, this is the time when there's lots and lots of growth and a little bit of rest thrown in between. Let's go back to that locust pose and hold it for 3 breaths, okay? So you raise your chest, bring your arms back, legs up. Hold it for 3 breaths. 1, 2, 3. And then rest. Wonderful. Now, you know about downward facing dog pose, but did you know there's a puppy pose? And puppies are normally born in the spring too. So, what you're going to do is go ahead and bring your hands under your shoulders, push yourself back up into your tabletop or deer pose, bring your hips back and your arms stretched out with your fingers wide. And this is puppy pose. Can you wag your tail as a little puppy? Go ahead, wag your tail. And walk your hands back. Come back to hero's pose. This is a nice little break from puppy pose. Let's do the puppy pose 2 more times, okay? So walk your hands up. Make your fingers touch the ground and your hips up and wag your tail. Wag your tail like a little puppy. And then walk your hands back to hero's pose. That's 2. We have 1 more to go. Now let's go ahead and walk our hands up. Rest your hands on your fingers, hips up, and wag your tail like a good little puppy. And then back up to hero's pose. And what's another sign of spring coming? We've already talked about the rain and the wind and the grass and the trees. So how do we get to tree pose? Well, let's find another sign of spring to get us up there. How about we put our feet on the ground, kind of wide, with our toes pointed out and our heels pointed in, and our hands on our knees. This is frog pose. When you start hearing the frogs again, you know spring's coming. Hold it here for 3 breaths, and then push yourself all the way up, climbing like a frog. Then come back down to your frog pose. Knees out. Hold your hands on your knees. And you can even dance around like a little frog. If you have a little hop, hop, hop in, you go ahead and hop, hop, hop. And then reach all the way up, climbing up like a frog. 1 more time. Come back down to the frog, bending your knees. Get your little hop, hop, hop. Here we are, welcoming spring, all the different signs, and then climb all the way up to the top. Now in spring, you'll also notice that daylight lasts a little longer. So that's our clock hands to symbolize that the sunlight lasts longer during the day. That's more daytime and less night. Go ahead and walk your feet in. And we're going to come to the tree pose. Now, do you remember that picture of the tree I showed you at the beginning? Excellent. We are going to grow up big and strong like that beautiful tree. So have your feet shoulder width apart. You're going to start with your mountain pose. So your hips are over your heels. Your knees are slightly bent. Your shoulders are over your hips. Your arms are at your side. Your head is up and level. Are you there? Excellent. Now, shift your weight to one side. It doesn't matter which side you shift to. Just know that we're going to be using the other side later. Once you've shifted, it should be pretty easy to pick up that opposite foot. So, bend that knee. Bring it out. Bring the flat of your foot on the inside of your ankle. Bring your hands to prayer at heart center. And then lift up tall like a tree. Fabulous. Look at you balancing. That's amazing. 1 more breath. And then bring your hands back down to heart center. Turn your knee forward, kick your leg out, and kind of shake your feet. Shake your legs out. 1 more time on that same side, okay? So shift your weight back over that same foot. Bend the opposite knee, bring it out. Bring your hands to prayer at heart center and bring it all the way up. This is just to make sure that you still have that balance. That wasn't just an accident. 1 more breath. And then bring your hands back down to prayer at heart center. Bend your knee forward, kick your legs out, and kind of shake your legs out. That's a lot of work on that one side. Are you ready for the other side? Fantastic. Let's go ahead and start in our mountain pose. Bring your hands to prayer at heart center. Shift your weight over to your opposite leg. Bend your knee. Flip it out. Flat of your foot against your ankle. And bring your hands all the way up. Tall like a tree. 3 breaths. And then turn your knee forward. Kick your leg out. Bring your hands back down to heart center. And shake your legs out. Get some circulation going. That's a long static balance pose. We're going to do that one more time. Same leg. So feet are shoulder width apart. Shift your weight to that leg. Bend the knee. Flip it out. The flat of your foot's on the inside of your ankle. Hands to prayer at heart center. And reach all the way up like a tall, beautiful spring tree. Imagine all the blossoms on your branches. Fantastic. Go ahead and bring your hands back down to heart center. Flip your knee out, step down, and shake your legs out. Shake your legs out. Now, if you have a dog or a cat, you might have seen this happen. If you let them outside, they go chasing things, don't they? So let's start to one side of our mats. And we're going to go down into downward facing dog. Okay, so again, start with your mountain pose. Bend forward at the hips, not the waist. Bring your hands down to the ground if you can. If not, just let them hang there and wave at the ground. I'll get to you soon. And then walk your hands out. And rest your head. This is our downward facing dog. Now, our dogs like to run and chase things like squirrels and raccoons and possums and birds and helicopters, like dogs do. So, when they run, they sprint and they look like they're flat. So come on down, bring your hips down into plank pose. One nice straight line. Looks like you're lunging for a squirrel. And then lift your hips back up to downward facing dog. We're going to do that 2 more times. And then down to plank like you're chasing a raccoon this time. And then lift your hips back up to downward facing dog. And then lunge after. What are they chasing this time? A bird? They're chasing a bird. Wonderful. Now lower your legs down to the mat. And you've made it to cobra pose. Now it's a little early for snakes to come out, but my dogs like to chase them anyway, because they're slower and easier to catch. And then slowly lower your body down to the mat. Rest your head in your hands for just a moment. What a lovely rest. Go ahead and bring your hands up under your shoulders and push back up to cobra pose. Keep your hips on the ground and your legs on the mat. You should feel a nice stretch in your abdomen and in your lower back. It's an amazing posture. And then slowly lower down. Rest your head in your hands. Take a breath. One more time. We're going to go into our cobra pose. So put your hands under your shoulders. Lift your torso up so that you're looking upright. Your shoulders should be down away from your ears. And then lower back down and rest your head in your hands. Now, one of the last things I want us to do is to come back to our little deer pose, our tabletop. So push yourself up. Have your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. And what other animals are coming around now? We've talked about our dogs and puppies. We talked about the deer. We talked about frogs. We haven't talked about the turtle. So we're going to sit down on our bottoms. Bring our feet out wide. We're going to take our hands and put them under our knees as we bend forward. And that's the turtle pose. Now, this is as far as my body wants to go. If your body can go all the way down, then that is amazing, and I'm so proud of you. Now, if you can't quite do this, that's fine. Just imagine that you're there. Put your hands up under your knees, and you're getting started on that turtle pose. And then slowly inhale, coming out of your turtle, sitting upright, and into our easy pose. Again, for you youngsters, this is probably better known as crisscross applesauce. Go ahead and sit upright, and we're going to practice using our imagination. Because much like the muscles in our bodies, if our imagination doesn't get practice, it can atrophy, and we don't have it to use as much. So, once you're comfortable, again, I want you to find your breath. Breathe in and out. Observe how your breathing is now. Is it different from earlier? Is it the same as earlier? Okay, once you've found your breath, close your eyes and use your mind's eye. I want you to picture yourself as a tree. If it helps, you're welcome to bring your arms up and out like branches and wiggle your leaves in the wind. And I want you to picture what the shape of your leaves looks like. Is it like a teardrop? Is it like a little crown? Is it round leaves, a little flappy leaves like ginkgo biloba? What do your leaves look like? And what color are they? Are they green or yellow or red or purple? What color are your leaves? And now once you can picture your branches with your leaves, what color are your flowers? Or do you have berries instead? Or cones? What kind of flower do you make? Does it have a color? A texture? Does it look rough or smooth? Is it heavy or light? Imagine all of this in your mind's eye. Your imagination is so powerful. And now, with your branches stretched up and your leaves and your flowers or cones or berries are in there, imagine that the breeze is blowing through, whoosh, kind of rock back and forth with your branches. Lots of wind. And then when the rain falls, it kind of pushes the branches down, so it looks like you're flying away like a bird. And then back to the breeze, rocking back and forth. And then let your arms come to rest in your lap. And imagine the most beautiful sunrise or sunset that you can even conceive of. All the vivid colors. Maybe there's some clouds in your sky or some birds flying past. And know that every tree out there has a beautiful view of the sunrises and sunsets. And now those sunrises and sunsets are getting further and further away because we're getting more and more time for the day. Now, once you feel like you're at peace and you can bring yourself to stillness, just take 5 deep belly breaths. Sigh it out. That's 3, 4, 5. You can open your eyes whenever you're ready. How do you feel? Do you feel refreshed and revived? That's another sign that spring is coming. Because the world, the earth, the plants, the animals, everything is refreshed and revived and ready to bloom on through into summer. So I hope that you've enjoyed our Signs of Spring yoga routine. Once more, my name is Tony. I am here at Me Time LLC, a massage and yoga studio here in Troy, Alabama. This program is sponsored in part by the Charles Henderson Child Health Center. They are a pediatric physician and dental office taking care of children from birth to age 19. They fund this program through a grant that they receive from the Children's Trust Fund, whose purpose is to prevent child abuse and neglect. Thank you so much for joining me for our Signs of Spring routine. I hope you've enjoyed it and that you join us again next Friday for Yoga for Kids and Their Adults. Until then, be kind to yourself and others. Namaste.